Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zappy here, back again with My Hero Academia Season 5. We're on episode 3, and in the last episode, it was a really interesting one, really cool, because we got more of a sort of a look at All for One, and even more interesting, I think, is the younger brother, how they kind of accidentally created One for All and everything like that, and it feels like this is going to be something that we keep coming back to. More memories are kind of unlocked for Deku in this sort of space where he's able to talk to the to All for One's younger brother, and the way that they are setting it up, it almost feels like All for One's younger brother is kind of this character that is still around almost, but I think of it more so as One for All as a kind of the memories of the previous holders and everything kind of unlocking itself. I think of it more as that, and the younger brother's kind of a more physical representation of unlocking those memories, as opposed to them Deku actually literally talking to the guy. One of the things that people did point out, so thank you for reminding me, is the Singularity thing was actually something that was sort of proposed in the last season with the one dude from Shiketsu, who proposed the Quirk Singularity kind of doomsday thing, which is that as time progresses, quirks and all of that become more and more powerful to the point of it's going to be too much. So I believe that is what the All for One's younger brother was talking about. We are past the Singularity point, meaning that things are getting more and more dangerous. So I believe that is what it is. Other than that, we are continuing on with the Endeavor and his sort of redemption and trying to redeem himself in the eyes of his family and everything like that. The other thing as well is something I wrote down that I didn't talk about because it was after I recorded the video, is that this Uchiko person, whoever it is, we've never heard that name before. I just wrote down, is it that talking Nomu? Now, I'm not fully on that idea that the talking Nomu is Uchiko. I just feel like this Nomu is something special, so it would possibly have its own name. And also the fact of Dabi said that he was coming here to reclaim the Nomu, but when he left, he never actually got that Nomu. So, you know what I mean? And I thought Endeavor had completely incinerated the whole thing, but the way that Dabi was, coming back for it, I assumed that it must be still functioning somehow. But it's going to be interesting just to see who this Uchiko person or thing is, because that kind of power to, just out of thin air create this kind of portal kind of thing is interesting and something we don't know about yet. So we'll see what happens with that. But I don't think we need to talk about anything else. We're just going to get in episode 3. So as always, the reaction will be here on YouTube. But if you want if the reaction gets taken down for copyright in the future, then I will re-upload this as a discussion only, and the reaction, the link to the reaction will be in the description below. And as always, the link to the full length is in the description below as well, so if you do want to watch my full length reaction to this episode and not just the cut 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But yes, nothing else to talk about. We're going to get in episode 3, season 5, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. The thing is, if there is a Singularity point, how do we combat that? How do we stop that from happening, how do we stop the doomsday from occurring if it's clearly happening, It's interesting that Shinso has this, similar to a Razorhead, does this, immediately after he's just woken up?
After that dream, I couldn't go back to sleep.
Right.
In that last instant, I saw the predecessors reaching out to me.
Cool. It's all like a culmination of them all reaching out, and not just...
You witnessed the memories of the original?
You saw the spirits of those who wielded our quirk?
Yeah, I saw them. I learned from my master about the existence of Vestiges. That's why I even know how the power functions. I witnessed its history.
He spoke to me about how I'm only using 20%. And something he called the Singularity. He was looking right at me. I think they wanted something from me.
He spoke with the first wielder.
So All Might didn't then?
I didn't experience it like you did. Based on what I know, this phenomenon has only happened to you.
So that would mean that it's not just memories like I was thinking
What you saw
then.
wasn't a dream. One for All has had many users, and now they're stored within it. The emotions of those who cultivated One for All are woven into the ability itself.
Sounds like something out of the occult.
More like hopeful thinking. If the battle for justice leads to my death, maybe we'll meet each other again inside of One for All.
I was thinking it was just memories, but I guess there's more like a soul attachment kind of thing.
Powered up, and then what about the Singularity?
There's a rumor about something like that. The Quirk Singularity Doomsday Theory or whatever.
Right.
It's still unclear if you were the cause of this event or if something external was at play.
There were two figures I couldn't make out.
I wonder if All Might knows
You were
about them.
kind of a glowy blur. Maybe it's because you're still relatively new and alive.
So that was All
That's
Might?
how it works.
What's important is that you remember One for All is your ally.
Fuck.
We'll keep investigating this together.
It's about your old master. She was so beautiful.
I know. We've got practical training this afternoon.
Oh, that's great. I like how they
I'll
bonded
watch it
over
today,
that.
too.
Hey, Shinso! Were you hanging out with Mr. Aizawa? I hope you're
So
learning a lot
it
from
must
him.
be that similar
I
thing.
am.
Yeah, so that thing that Shinso is wearing, it's like Aizawa's. Must be exactly the same.
Are you excited?
He must be training them.
Everyone's costumes have changed since we started school, haven't they? They've adapted just as we have.
God, back ago.
Champ, I'm surprised you lasted through the summer and all that gear.
If you've got something to say, then
Nice.
say it to my face, nerd, while I'm blasting yours!
How does it work? Do the gauntlets come equipped with a heat generator?
I like how they're going into
praising
the
my
temperature
suit!
because of the change in the
York may
season
have
and
changed
stuff.
the most out of everyone's, Midoriya.
Relaxed and full of yourselves as always. Obviously, you underestimate.
Fucking Class B. Oh, this is gonna be good.
Come on, Class A! Let's see who's best once and for all!
For fuck's sake.
Hero Course, Class 1B, Yui Kodai.
She's got a costume like she works at McDonald's or something.
Ibara Shiozaki,
I'm never gonna remember all these.
Pony Tsunatori, Tatsutetsu Tatsutetsu, Setsuno Tokage, Manga Fukudashi, Juzo
What?
Tanuki.
I do recall, like, way back when in season 1, the guy who looked like a Thought Bubble. That must be the guy.
Oh, what's this? We won by 2 votes?
Fuck's
You guys
sake.
have been hogging the spotlight ever since we started school, but your standing around campus is trash. I
Can't believe he's still going on about that.
Our first joint combat training. You're finished.
Today, there will be a special participant.
Shinso.
Possible.
Who's going to be joining us?
I'll murder him.
Interested in switching to the hero track.
But someone needs to come out though, right?
From General Studies Class C, Hitoshi Shinso.
I feel like at the end of this he's going to end up in the hero class, but someone has to come out, so he's probably going to end up joining 1B, I'd assume. Because they're not going to get rid of
Shinso will be
1A,
joining
right?
in on your training.
Is that one of Mr. Aizawa's capture scarves?
The mask looks special too.
Yeah.
Welcome to the fight.
The first time I saw the vestiges of One for All was when I was under Shinso's control.
I think it was something to do with like being like in a subconscious state because he
Timing
was
coincidental?
was
Or was there a reason?
taken over. So
Shinso?
I already faced some of you as opponents during the sports festival. But we're not friends just because we fought before. I don't subscribe to that sort of sportsmanship. And
Okay.
I'm already countless steps behind. I need to prove myself. One day I will become a proper hero. Then I can use my powers to help citizens in need. All of you are hurdles I must overcome. Thanks for having me.
I like how Deku understood.
This will be a battle between Class A and Class B, here in one corner of Field Gamma. You will be grouped in teams of 4, each competing one at a time. So won't it be impossible
Yeah, who's
to
he?
divide the teams equally?
Who's he
Which
joining?
is why he'll be participating in 2 matches. One time with us and one time with Class A. In other
Okay.
words, 2 of the 5 matches will be 5 against 4. The larger teams will have the
Good
advantage
point.
in numbers, but also a handicap. You'll win if you capture 4 competitors.
They do say villains are organizing more these days.
In your team's base camp, you'll find an adorably decorated prison. Once you put your enemies behind bars, that will count as a capture.
So
Don't
we
be giving
gotta
them
capture
ideas.
4 losers. Is that what you meant when you said disadvantage? Huh?
If 4 people on one of the 5-person teams are captured, that will be considered a loss.
You're making us haul around excess baggage?
What?
That's some bullcrap.
Draw your lots.
All right. Lots of teams. Okay. Nice, Bango and Jiro on the team. Yes. Now that I like.
Let's have some fun out there, man. This is gonna be awesome.
Okay.
Do it.
They all hate him.
Let's annihilate these egomaniacs.
It'll be you and Shinso's first rematch since the sports festival, huh?
Damn.
I can't wait to see how he fights. I wonder what new abilities
Rematch
he
is on.
learned.
Starting line.
That's Shinso's
Teams will
starting line
begin
now.
at your base camp.
Oh, All Might and Midnight are here together. Is it a date?
Stop that. Older men aren't my thing.
Class A has definitely gotten stronger after overcoming so many different crises. If you look at their grades, Class B has actually improved more than they have.
Interesting.
It's probably because they were able to cover the curriculum since they didn't run into outside trouble. They've
Right.
been getting better at a steady rate. Class A has turned disasters into strength, while Class B has taken a more traditional approach to their studies.
Interesting.
This'll be good.
A nice differential
Fighters,
there.
take your marks.
Asui's camouflage. If you know where to look, you can still see her. I'd like to take out the most troublesome Quirk first.
My dude Shinso, you get it.
If we're hoping to do something about Ibarra first, then they're probably thinking the same thing about Kaminari and his dangerous attacks. Also, even though he has less experience, they'll want to avoid Shinso's quirk.
So Asui claims that Kaminari is the most dangerous one. Oh, getting hell! He managed to pick out Sue as well.
Both of them? That's not good.
Better grade, so
If
they're
we
going to
got
be
your
more.
team prepared, then you might have been able to unleash a
Tactful.
devastating shock attack. I sniffed you out with my acute sense of smell.
Right, that makes sense. He's like Beast, isn't he?
Quirk? Beast.
Of course, there you go. Yeah, he's just Beast from the X-Men.
Electricity with your friends around, can you?
He's the guy with solid air, right?
I've trained my quirk and got a new move. Air prison.
What? That's pretty cool, man.
Take them down, Shishida.
Consider this our
What's the
win
mask all about?
already.
Sounded like Shinso somehow talked with my voice. Huh? Wait,
What?
what's that mask?
Vocal modulator. Persona chords.
Holy fuck. That's crazy! Okay, episode 3. Wow. Shinso has evolved to... I mean, this is the thing with, you know, that I have sort of questioned, like, in the past, like, other characters and stuff, and, like, how... You know, how can they improve their quirk to a point where, you know, and use it in a different kind of way, you know, as some sort of advantage over others. And Shinso was one of those, because once it was kind of known that you just don't answer him back, it becomes so easy to just avoid his quirk and get the upper hand on him. But I mean, again, the sort of, I guess, adjustments to costumes and things coming in clutch, like, just gives that whole, you know, the whole engineering side of heroism, that, you know, they create the costumes to help these heroes along, is more important than, you know, some might give them credit for, because that voice modulation mask thing that allows, like, him to speak in different, you know, use other people's voices to trick, you know, their friends or whoever they may be, their classmates, to think that they are actually replying to them, when in reality they're replying to Shinso, which activates his quirk, and he forces that mind control upon them, which, damn, that's a big it's a big improvement. And at that point, like, this is an improvement to his quirk that is something that is not entirely, like, it's not sort of fallible. Is that the correct term? Basically, what I mean is that this is not something that can be overcome as easy as what it was before. Like, before, you know what his voice is, just don't answer him, and that'll be fine. But now, at any point from now and and throughout his entire life, as long as he has that voice modulation, he can use anybody's voice and different voices for someone to reply to, which means that everyone always has to be, I guess, on their guard around him, It's just, it's such an upgrade. That is something that I never even considered at all. But that's what I've always praised this show for, is like that sort of creative, like that creative spark that this show has to be able to use like powers in different ways and everything like that is really cool. And that's just another one that I just didn't see coming. I mean, there had to be something, because again, like, whilst it's an insanely powerful quirk, you know, the downfall is that, you know, once you know how to stop it, that's it. But with this, that's a different beast altogether. And I guess this is how it works, I guess, in Class 1A's favour, that he joined them first, so that didn't catch them off guard on the other side. You know, it caught 1B off guard, because they didn't know about it. But now that information is out there, that the voice modulation mask is something that can be used, it's definitely going to come back into play when Shinso joins the other side. And, you know, it's going to be one of those things that they are going to have to be wary of hearing. You know, it's like they're going to have to be looking at each other. So if they hear voices coming out of someone and their mouth isn't moving, then, you know, you need to be very wary. But that's the kind of thing that, like, the concentration, especially like in a situation where, you know, like, there are high stakes. I mean, it's obviously not as high stakes as, like, you know, but if we're, you know, playing this up, like role playing it as if, you know, they are against each other and they're, you know, they're on opposite sides, that in that kind of high pressure situation, you're gonna have to be concentrating like 100%, 110, because to keep all of that up that's tough, because you can't just constantly look at each other thinking that, you know, but I guess there has to be some like directional sound in play, that, you know, the voice modulation, it's still coming over from Shinso, but whether or not this mask, because of the way that it sort of moves and everything like that, I don't know if that's something to mimic almost like what you would consider almost like a voice box, so it changes, and therefore that changes the tonality, which I think it does. But I also wonder if it changes maybe sound waves direction, you know, because another way to combat it would be like, okay, well, Shinso's over there, I've just heard, you know, Kirishima's voice from over there, but he's standing right here. Maybe that could come into play. But, like, you know, so if the mask can somehow, like, move the sound waves to, you know, to come back from different directions, then maybe that is something. Because, I mean, you know, if you look at it from the point of view of what we just saw, like, Beast didn't even think, like, he's just heard his mate's voice, but he didn't think of it coming from, you know, I mean, he's right behind them. Why would it come from this way? But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a case of, like, Beast, because he goes berserk, that he just wasn't thinking straight. He was going a bit nuts, so, you know, there is that. But, yeah, that's just really cool. Really cool. And I see him, you know, I remember when he claimed that, you know, those below can move into the hero course and take a spot. And then after episode 7, I believe, of season 2, when Deku beat him and everything, there was that moment of just like, you know, like, you actually respected this character that seemed like a bit of a dick at first, but then you got his story, and you know, you felt for him, because people just seem like, you know, they seem to think that his power is more geared towards a villainous side, you know, but a more malevolent, I guess, side, when in reality he just wants to be a hero, you know. So, but ever since then, I was thinking, like, this, surely, like, that had set up something that would eventually happen, and I think it is coming to a head now. I think I see Shinso being able to move up into the hero course, but I don't, but this is the thing, like, I'm not gonna lie, I will be disappointed if they just remove the idea that, you know, like, he can just join a hero class without someone having to leave, like, transfer out, you know? Because I feel like there does have to be stakes in it. Like, there has to be that whole thing of, you know, there's only a certain amount of places in the hero course, and if one person moves in, someone has to move out. And if that is the case, then I would have to say that it's going to be someone in. I mean, I think Shinso will end up in Class 1B because there's no way that you're going to be getting rid of a Class 1A student, because the thing is that 1A is almost like a character in of itself in this show. You know, it's a group that have been through a lot, and their bond is strong. You know, so I mean, I guess there could be a sort of a story that could form around maybe one of the 1A actually ends up being one of them that has to transfer out, and then you could do something around that possibly. But you know, if I had to put a bet on it, you would go into Class 1B. I wouldn't put a bet on the idea of someone transferring out though, because I mean, to kind of take that, I don't know, because it seems harsh, you know, but we just don't know 1B all that much. And you know, like when they were going through all of the names of all of 1B, and I was just like, I'm never going to remember all these. You know what I mean? It's one thing to remember the amount of characters in the show anyway, because there are so many. Not just to mention, like, you know, obviously 1A, but then you know, all of the side characters, all of the teachers, all of the villains, all of them. It's just like there's the cast in the show is so fucking huge. It's ridiculous. You know, so I'm never going to remember 1B. I mean, I remember Tetsu because that's easy to remember, but also he's had more screen time, and he's had his own little time to shine. I did remember the fucking bloody neurotic fucking nuts one that's always shouting and always wanting to be better than 1A. You know, but it's not coming to mind right now. But you know, I'll never remember all those, you know, all those names. So if one of them was transferred out in place of Shinso, it would be one that isn't missed, if you know what I mean. As harsh as that sounds, but it's like, you know, if one of 1A were to transfer out, that would be huge. But I wouldn't put a bet on anyone being transferred out, because I don't know, like in terms of the story, they may just say, all right, Shinso's coming in, and the Class 1B is going to have 21 students in it. So I don't know, but yeah. You know, keeping on with all of that as well, the one dude who has solid air, that prison, great use of the power, because like if you're trapped in such a small space, how do you get out of that? Like you know, it's one thing that when Bakugo punched through it back in the festival, he was able to wind up and actually put some power behind it. But like, if you're trapped in the prison, you don't have any real space to gain like that much power. You can't like break out of it, you know. Unless it, you know, it's some kind of power that, you know, I don't know if like, you know, Todoroki would be able to burn right through it, you know. But you know, for someone who just focuses on physical abilities, like that would be tough, you know. I mean, he trapped the Kota, right? And so, I mean, there possibly could be a way that he could talk to animals to help him get him out from the outside. That could be a way he could get out there. Or one of his friends could literally just do it, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about if he was trapped and he had to find his way out himself, how would he do it? But yeah, that Solid Air Prison, great use of a great improvement as well. Yeah, Beast, I mean, Shinso did point out that even though Sue was camouflaged, there's still that sort of like, you know, the light refracting around like isn't pure invisibility. It's not like Higakure. It's more like cloaking over the top. The light still will hit it in a certain way that, you know, if you focus, you'll be able to see her slightly. But I think it was more so that Beast was able to smell her out to determine where she was, as opposed to actually looking at it, you know. But yeah, also interesting how Sue claims that Kaminari is actually the most dangerous one, which is interesting, you know, because I mean, if they put out that sort of, you know, like idea of who's the most dangerous, then I mean, it would have to be Red Riot, right? But like, you know, I guess in terms of like a sheer one-shot power, then I suppose that Kaminari would be, you know. But that was nice to see, because, you know, it's good to see like characters get, you know, some props, I suppose, and because Kaminari's like, because he can be dumb at times. Of course, a lot of that comes down to like him you know, using his quirk too much, and then he, you know, basically fries his brain. But even outside of that, he still has that kind of like more comedic side, and you know, he has had his moments though. But it's nice that, like, you know, when Sue said that, like, Kaminari was like taken aback, like he wasn't expecting something like that, you know what I mean? So it's nice to see them big each other up. But yeah, I mean, even so, the Class 1B would know that, wouldn't get anywhere near him. And they even said, like, it's nice to see, like, Class 1B get a bit of representation as well, because they obviously haven't for a lot. And between Class 1A and 1B, it's not supposed to be one is better than the other. It's like, you know, they're all in the hero course, so, you know, it's not like they're any worse than Class 1A. It's just that Class 1A has always been pulled into certain situations, and they've had that experience. Whereas, you know, Class 1B, and I like the differentiation between the two, that they're good. It's almost like different routes for them. You know, you've got Class 1A more of the experience side and everything like that, but you've got Class 1B who are going down more of the traditional style, and more like studied as well. So, you know, that you would think that, of course, going into it, that they would be a hell of a lot more tactful in an engagement, as opposed to 1A, which are more like on the fly kind of thing. So that's just really cool. What else? The new costumes as well. Yeah, so a lot of them have gotten new costumes. I also like the fact that they are actually taking into account, like, the cooler weather, which is, you know, something that, you know, it's just like a, you know, you just wouldn't think you would even need to even think about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It would just be like, oh, it's new costume, great. You know what I mean? It helps in certain, you know, in some sort of way, but you would never think that the temperature would come into account in terms of the story. It's just little details like that I really like. And yeah, Batgirl looks fucking incredible. So I'm really, really happy with that. Yeah, and then I guess everything with the Vestiges. So the talk with All Might. So All Might has experienced it, just not the same way that Deku has. And that gold blur was actually All Might. That yellow, like, blurry, because I mean the hair, yes, but I mean I was thinking that they were in line of, you know, but I'm then I guess they're not then. Like, that's not an order when they were lined up, which is interesting. I guess to some degree they would be from most, like, notable to not. You know what I mean? Because obviously the ones that you couldn't even make out were the furthest away, and then, you know, there was All Might, who they are thinking that he's still a blur because he's still alive and everything, and then, you know, as they go along, I guess they become more obvious of, like, who they are. It becomes more apparent. So yeah, that was interesting. So that is All Might. Fucking hell. Well, it's I mean, in a way, I'm kind of disappointed, because I was so interested to see, like, who that was, because I was like, oh my god, who is this guy? Like, he was the most intriguing, and it's just All Might. But then, of course, it is, because I was thinking, like, I talked about in the last episode, like, in the discussion about how it looks like All Might, and if any of them was All Might, of course, that would be the one, you know? I mean, yellow's kind of like almost his colour, and, you know, he had the hair and everything, and he's the most bright almost, you know. So yeah, but yeah, so other than that, yeah, so we had All Might's master basically talking to him, and like a sort of a flashback, basically saying that emotions are woven into the ability. So the emotions that were cultivated from the previous holders all you know, tie into this, and it's almost like the way they were talking about it is almost like a soul attachment, that when you actually go into that state where you see the Vestiges, that you are actually talking to those people, which I thought it wasn't. I thought it was just a memory thing that was being unlocked, and him talking to the original in the last episode was more of a kind of just a representation, a visual one, of these memories being unlocked. But no, it actually seems like there is something there, that you are actually talking to them. Like, it still is a physical, visual representation, I guess, of their emotions, is what they're referring to it as, like their feelings of power, and that obviously, you know, she would All Might's master basically talking to him saying that even if I die, we could probably talk, you know, in the Vestiges space, which is cool. And I think, like, you know, something like that, I guess, gives All Might a bit of, you know, I guess a bit of sense of, like, hope. You know what I mean? That they will be able to talk. But that's the things, like, I don't know into what degree, like, can they interact with each other in there. It's tough. It's tough to really kind of understand what is going on right now because we're so, like, young to it, you know. We haven't got all of the information. But yeah, that's interesting. I mean, All Might never spoke to the original, but he did experience it, and that's basically how he got to even learn how to use the power was through this. So similarly, it will be with Deku, you know, and that concentration of power will become to a point eventually more stronger than All Might. So, yeah, so damn. But I like the fact that they're bonding over All Might's master's beauty. I love that. That's really cool. A really nice little touch. You know, just really nice. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see when we get more. But it's interesting that, like, All Might was talking about how it's hard to say whether Deku was responsible for it or there was an outside force. Now, we know that the first time it happened was with Shinso, where he took over Deku's mind. So I'm assuming that whatever it was, well, it has to happen in a subconscious state first of all for the Vestiges of All for One to actually control the power within, so that Deku wasn't in control at those points. But, you know, he has to be in a non-conscious state for the Vestiges to actually, I guess, appear, you know, to some degree. But I don't know whether it was there that, like, you know, they forced the power out because, you know, the fact that he didn't, like, the fact that All Might never saw the original or talked to him at all anyway, but Deku did, that there's something different about it. Like, this is something that only Deku has had, that there's something more going on. And it could be just to do with the time, with now the Singularity point is past that and Deku just happens to be at that, like, the holder at the time. But it could also be the fact of, like, I don't know, maybe they freaked out with Shinso getting in there, that maybe they thought that, shit, like, that One for All power is going to be given to someone that, you know, it wasn't meant to go to, or something like that. That something maybe occurred there where the Vestiges freaked out, and, you know, maybe that caused this whole thing. But it feels like the way that they are talking about it, that Shinso has had a major role to play in whatever's happened, I think. But you know, we'll have to wait and see in the future about that. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much all I've got to talk about. I know it's a bit of a more shorter discussion this week, because I'm a bit short on time, but I think I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. So anyway, yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. In the description below I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish, and I also have a Patreon page as well, so if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access gives you access to shows a week early. There's the full length, which gives you access to the full length reactions to all the shows I do, and then there is the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie reactions, the full length movie reactions and everything. So if you want to watch my reactions to movies, that is the one for you. But that is all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.